Shalom Aleichem Internet. My name is Rabbi Sandor Gajzinski, and this is the weekly Torah Bite. This week's Torah portion is the very first Torah portion of the second book of the entire Torah, the book of Exodus. And the Hebrew name for this Torah portion, and therefore for the entire book, is Shemot, which means not Exodus, but names. Now, compared to the word Exodus, which is very bombastic and dramatic, and ultimately descriptive of the story that takes place in this book, the miraculous freedom from Egypt and the going into the desert, the original name for this book seems to be relatively dry and mundane in comparison. Names. The truth is, it's all about the names. The names is the most important feature of this entire story. It's the key to the Exodus. You see, to name the book Exodus would be to focus on what it is that God accomplished. That he took a nation that was enslaved for 210 years, and through miracles like the 10 plagues and the splitting of the sea, took this nation out into freedom, and then marched them through the desert. And that would have been an amazing storyline. But we choose to name this book Names, which is not speaking to God's feet, but actually is speaking to the incredible accomplishment of the Jewish people. You see, the Jewish people, at the beginning of this week's Torah portion, are heading down into Egypt. We recap Jacob coming down with his family. And we once again go through the names. The names that we, by the way, just listed a few verses earlier at the end of last week's Torah portion. But again, we are reiterating them to make an important point. When they were coming down to Egypt at what was the beginning of eventual 210 years of slavery, they were coming down with the names Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. And 210 years later, when God comes to take them out of Egypt, they still are a unique people to be able to be taken out. Because they went down with the names Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, and they left with the names Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. Somehow, over centuries of servitude and subjugation and being an oppressed, exiled nation, they managed to maintain their unique heritage, their unique language, and their unique names. They still maintain the pride of the Jewish people. And that is an incredible feat. And that is the key to the survival of the Jewish people. And it's something that we've held onto from then until the present. And this is the lesson of this week's Torah portion, and in fact, perhaps of the entire book of Exodus. That it's all about the names. It's all about what we are doing to preserve our heritage and our culture, and to teach our children that, to name our children with the same names that our parents gave us and their parents gave them, etc., going all the way back. That is the key, even more so than what God will do for us. It is what we do for ourselves to preserve our identity and our heritage, so that when God comes to take us out of Egypt, or comes to help us along throughout the generations, we are there as a people to be willing to be helped out. I always share with my class in Hebrew school, the oldest class, what is in a sense the responsibility, the golden chain that they are now stepping up and in a sense being the next in the line of this great merit and responsibility. And I tell them that if Socrates walked through a wormhole and ended up in modern-day Greece, and he met a modern-day Greek citizen, and he turns to him and he tries to communicate. So he starts speaking to him in ancient Greek. The guy is going to look at him as if he's speaking to him in hieroglyphics. What are you speaking? I don't understand you. Finally, they find some way to communicate, and he turns to this fellow, and he says, "My name is Socrates." And the guy looks at him and says, "Your name is what? Who names their kid Socrates anymore? What kind of craziness is that? Socrates. That's a name that died out millennia ago. What name is Socrates?" And then he says, "Pardon me, can you take me to the local temple of Zeus?" And the guy's going to look at him and says, "Sir, what millennia are you from?" Now, go back to a figure who lived centuries before Socrates. A fellow named Moshe Rabbeinu. Moses. He walks through a time warp and ends up in modern-day Israel. And in the ancient language that Moshe Rabbeinu spoke, centuries before Socrates, centuries before the language of Greek was ever created, Moshe will turn to a modern-day fellow who's walking down the streets of Israel, and he will turn to him in that ancient language that Moses spoke and say, Shalom Aleichem. To which the fellow will respond without missing a beat, the modern day response to the ancient Shalom Aleichem, which is Aleichem Shalom. And then he will turn to him in a language that they both speak fluently. And he will say, Shem Shali Moshe, my name is Moshe. To which the fellow will respond, Shem Shali Gam Moshe, my name is also Moshe. It happens to be the most common name. And then he will turn to him and say, tell me, where is the local place where we can go serve God? And the fellow will respond, I'm on my way there myself. Come and join me. That right there is the key and what makes the heritage of the Jewish people and the message of this week's Torah portion and the book of Shemot so important. We have managed as a people through 210 years of slavery in Egypt and through millennia of persecution to maintain who we are as a people, to maintain our culture, our language, our heritage, our Torah, and our names. So what's in a name? Everything is in a name. Shabbat Shalom, and have a wonderful week.